Just kidding. Welcome back. If you're just listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you didn't see I was pretending I was on mute, but I wasn't. I was just pretending. How you guys doing? I'm in a good mood. Had a beautiful day. It's like 115 degrees. We are cooking, and we are about to cook up a dope show for you. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I was just telling Pat before we started recording, because we do talk a little before. It's not like we completely freestyle this, but I was just telling Pat, actually we do freestyle this because Pat doesn't know what we're talking about yet. But
nope, never do.
I was telling him how I just went camping last week, had an awesome time, loved it, one with nature. I have a little trailer that I tried to upfit, have a bed in it, and I'm slowly upgrading it with solar panels. That's taken a little bit of a delay, but it's coming along. It's been a lot of fun, cool little project. Now, here's a interesting little segue. I feel like in a couple months, there's going to be a lot of people camping, not by choice. And why is that? I think a lot of people are going homeless in a couple months. And here's the thing that I think we're going to probably disagree with a bit, and it'll be a little bit interesting. I don't want anyone to be homeless. Obviously, I think like I'm actually a huge softie. I love everyone. I wish everyone could live as well and happily as they could want. Unfortunately, that's not too realistic. And unfortunately, there are people that are going to go homeless. There's a lot of people who owe a lot of money right now for whatever. People don't have jobs. It's just an unfortunate truth. What I think, though, is delaying the eviction moratorium, which in Philadelphia was just delayed yet again, is an overall disservice to the entire situation. So why I think that is it's just delaying the problem. And it's just, when I feel like it's kind of like a bow and arrow, maybe. A bow and arrow, the longer you're holding it back and back, the farther it's going to go and just shoot. And this eviction moratorium, the longer we're holding back this problem, when it comes, it's going to just be horrible. And I personally know multiple people who aren't paying their rent because they know they can't get evicted, and they're still bringing in money.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is when the eviction moratorium's over, they're just going to peace.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you think, I know it's a tough situation. There's not really a best answer, but do you think this eviction moratorium is ever going to happen? Do you think they're going to somehow be able to fix it? I know there are some plans in place to try and get the tenants or the landlords money.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest though.
Yeah, man. Like you said, dude, I'm going to cut right to it. Like, there is no easy answer. On the one hand, landlords, they got into it. It's a business, right? Mm-hmm. And not all landlords are sitting on the high hog.
I think that's a great point. I'm glad you said it, because a lot of people think, oh, landlord, they're millionaires. Some landlords rely on that rent for their own mortgage or their own lives.
Yeah, by just inherently, the situation of most landlords and real estate in general is that you're leveraged to the hilt, debt, and that means debt for our layman listeners. And so oftentimes the rents aren't necessarily making them rich, but they're making their payments and they're looking to get out of that debt and reach profit at some point in the future, but that takes time. Mm-hmm. And so on the one hand, I'm not just going to sit here and say, screw the landlords. All right. It's all about one side or the other. Another layer to that, though, is that there are some landlords that I think are in a better position to suffer short-term losses than evicting folks, right? And my gut is always to say, well, these individuals, where are they going to go? So, like, say we do end the moratorium and we evict them, and then those landlords are able to get paying tenants in. Well, that creates just another problem.
Right.
I think that there needs to be subsidies that are put in place to make sure the landlords are staying afloat, because they shouldn't have to suffer. Their portfolios shouldn't have to suffer unduly just because of the pandemic.
And I think they have that a little bit, but I don't think it's I guess everything had to be rushed a little bit this year, but yeah. I feel like there's just it's not the best plan. There's a lot of landlords that are missing out, some that
Yep.
are getting it that don't deserve it.
Here's my problem with just the moratoriums and really not much else being done to help landlords and tenants. Moratoriums by nature are supposed to be temporary, okay? And we keep extending them and extending them. And at a certain point, it becomes lazy governance. And that starts to speak to a problem where there is not enough active, or really to be more specific, proactive action that's being taken by the government to solve what has been a problem all along, which is that housing costs are out of control for everybody. Whether you have money or not, you are disproportionately putting way too much money to just have a roof over your head.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, like when I was in high school or college, you shouldn't be spending much more than like 25% on your living, on your housing, maybe 30%. And I
think to be a lot less. You know, the
most people now are probably pushing like 50%, which is definitely not the best.
Yeah. Sometime soon we'll have to get a fact checker on the show with us to help us out with this type of stuff. But
no, this show we make our own facts up.
We make our own facts. But no, your numbers aren't far off. And you know, to put it in perspective, my grandmother loves to tell the story of when she bought her home in like 1960. They put like 10,000 down and then had a mortgage of $6,000 that they paid off over a certain amount of years. Like, can you imagine that? And that was still a lot of money back then, but it didn't bankrupt them. It didn't bankrupt them. And they were in no way well off. They were actually like middle class in the true sense of the word. Which
Cinnaminson? Is this Cinnaminson?
Yeah, in Cinnaminson, yes, in Cinnaminson. And so, you know, the other part of this is that there's a lot of real estate. I think we all see there seems to be a lot of housing around, right? There's a lot of housing around, not a lot of new middle class housing going up. And we all know that that's because of the crash in 2008, and also because developers just don't see the benefit in building middle class housing, and you know, whatever. They much rather rip off people for $600K a pop.
Yeah.
Build shit houses, you know, all over the city.
Yeah.
But ultimately, look at like Philadelphia Housing Authority. They have a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio.
Yep.
As do lots of MNC, you know, multinational corporations.
Half of it's vacant. A lot of it's vacant, literally just doing nothing.
Yeah. So holding companies, multinational corporations, you know, international entities, and like quasi-government agencies are all holding an overwhelming amount of real estate, especially in urban areas, and there's nothing being done with them. There's no plan.
What do you think about this though? Because this is somewhere where there's definitely a lot of disagreement, and I don't know what the right answer, what best is, but a lot of I don't know how to categorize them. People, let's just say, because I don't want to say the wrong thing, think that housing is expensive because of too much regulation. And because there's too much laws or mandates that say you need this much low-income housing, when you have those mandates, you're making people stay away from building. They're only going to build certain things that make them the right margins, whatever. Where if you supposedly, again, I don't know, I'm just bringing this up, if you didn't have these regulations of low-income housing, you would actually end up having more low-income housing just from the free market. I don't know what's true or not, but it does seem like there are a lot of cities that have these laws that don't have low-income housing, where it seems a little weird. Why is that? If we have all these laws, why is pricing going up so much?
History tells us that the market typically doesn't do things automatically that have high utility for the general population. It generally takes a collaboration between governments and business. The only reason you saw a massive expansion of the middle class in the 1950s after World War II was developers were able to build the modest home neighborhoods that they did in places like Cinnaminson because of massive investment in infrastructure. that allowed people to live in the suburbs and commute in where their jobs were. And so developers felt safe in building in those areas. And they also had really great promises on the loans that they took out in order to do that.
Is it a GI Bill? That's the GI
Bill? Well, individuals had were able to get access to homes because of the GI Bill, and putting aside the inherent racism that happened because of that. But we're talking about like housing and how it comes about. The government has to be involved in a collaborative, positive way. Unfunded mandates that the government says you have to do this a certain way, and there's no caveat, that there's no kind of like a plan made for the inherent cost in mandating certain things. I don't agree with. I think that's stupid, whether it's in education or with the environment, any kind of regulation that says you got to do a certain thing, and there's no plan on the added cost that's going to happen to help mitigate it being passed off, or some bad action being taken, or some unintended result occurring is stupid governance. I absolutely agree with that. However, when you don't regulate things like what's happening in Philly right now, where license and inspection is not on top of a lot of the buildings that are going up, I think that's more of a problem than mandating lower income housing.
Well, yeah, very true. Or great timing of events, or not great time events. What happened in Miami with buildings collapsing?
See, when I hear people railing against regulation, I say, there's a reason why the majority of homes aren't burning down around us. Why
of course
your wiring isn't catching fire.
You need regulation. You definitely need regulation. I've heard from developers though that they say there would be more building going on if they weren't held to some of these things. Who knows if they're just complaining or not? I don't know. But I do know that there's a huge shortage of supply of housing. And it doesn't really make too much sense, because a house shouldn't be that expensive. It costs $100,000 to build a home, but homes are $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 these days minimum if you're anywhere near a city.
Oftentimes, not oftentimes. I'm going to say a lot of the times what I'm seeing, and this is purely anecdotal, but there's also data to back this up, that there's a lot of bad actors in the building. Both private and I do a lot of work with unions. I think that more so we should have union labor contributing, especially to high rises, anything over 3 stories. I think we should be building with better materials, and that should be mandated. Building with more concrete and steel,
more green for sure. I think all roofs should be green, solar, all of that.
Yeah. I honestly think that there are some really smart regulations that we can do where the government and the markets can work together, because it's just inevitable. It's stupid for us to be fighting this fight. I think it's an artificial thing that is created. That government and regulation is bad. Let the market take care. That's an artificial thing created by political actors, in my opinion. And their motivations are not for good public utility. Their motivations are for money and political power.
And power, control.
That's it. And so when I hear developers complaining, I see what they're building. And the numbers that they're charging is not commiserate with the quality of product that they're producing. I'll be honest with you. They're cutting and they're lining their pockets, and they're taking off. And they're using labor from Latin America and other countries, and they're smuggling these people in. This is human trafficking. I'm not talking about white versus brown and them taking our jabs. I'm talking about human rights violators who are moving groups of people into a locality. They're doing projects in their building, and then they take off in the middle of the night. And law enforcement is hard pressed to identify these issues and tackle them adequately. And there's no political will in order to get at this. So to be honest with you, there's a lot of bad actors going on when it comes to the building and real estate situation. And that's my soapbox, because, I just think it's not as simple as less regulation, more. Anybody that's telling you that is selling you a bill of goods.
No, you're completely right. Nothing's really too simple. That's the problem these days. Everyone tries to make it into like a meme, and like the meme explains everything. It's like, there's a lot of layers to everything. It's too simple. But
long story short, everyone deserves a home. That we have so much money in this country, and so much property and land. There really is enough for everybody. It's laziness and it's incompetence and corruption that stops us from making sure that every family or individual has a roof over their head and food in their bellies.
That's for sure. I think I saw Finland made an initiative to get rid of homelessness, and they literally got rid of homelessness 100%, and it cost them less money than like homelessness did, where it's like, it's pretty obvious it's going to be a win-win for everyone. We just don't want to do it for some reason.
And there are little models like that we could start small. Of course, America is way more complicated than Finland. That's why you can't just take a health system that's employed by a Scandinavian country and transplant it here, because it's more complicated than that. But Jerry, you're right. We could experiment with some of these things, but we don't.
Yeah.
And I don't see the harm in experimentation. And the only reason why it doesn't happen tells me that there's some kind of special interest that stops that from happening.
Well, Pat, I'm going to say this is going to be the beginning of my campaign for mayor of Philadelphia. You can be my campaign manager, and I'm going to get rid of homelessness.
Man, dude, your mouth to God's ears, dude. I mean, it's
no, it's to the podcast ears. We're going to make it happen. All right. It's official. When this is posted, I'm officially running for mayor. Not the next one, the one after.
Yeah, we got a lot of planning to do. Homelessness is a serious freaking problem. It's going to take a while.
I'm actually intentionally going homeless very soon, so I can learn the most about it as possible. So
cut to sneak preview. It fucking sucks.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude. There's times when I'm camping where it's really difficult. Homelessness is definitely I can't even imagine. I feel like if there was better resources, like a little bit better resources, I wouldn't have as hard time. Obviously, as a single male, it's a lot easier than like if you have a family and stuff. If you have a family, I can't imagine at all. But if there was a place where you could get a meal every day and a shower, then I think I could probably last a few months.
It lasts a few months, you know. It's
no, exactly.
It's that higher calling, right? You know, the call to have a castle of your own. You know, it's it can't be underestimated. I don't know why people are so flippant about it and why they can be so, you know, singularly selfish. You know.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think a lot of people don't aren't able to like put themselves in other people's shoes like at all. They just don't get it.
No.
All right, well. Damn, I was happy now. I like feel bad and sad now, but
hey man, the point is that there's hope. We have resource. It's about harnessing what we have, right?
Definitely.
And we just need to keep all raising our voices and being those allies in this fight as best we can.
You're right. We're on our way. We're on our way. Well, it was an awesome time talking to you, Pat. I love you. Can't wait to talk to you next week. We're tackling one problem at a time. Local politics. Trying to, baby. Trying to just take off all the layers and really figure these things out. But I will talk to you soon. Try and stay cool in this heat. Another thing for the homeless people is like this heat's got to be unbearable, or people who just have bad landlords and broken ACs or whatever. So anyone listening, please stay cool, stay safe. As always, we love you. Talk to you soon. Comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear about or be on the show. Peace.